he took only 2 books. One book is still remaining. That was the Bhagavatam first canto. Then she mentioned, well, oh, no problem, I'll complete the set. Then she took the Srimad Bhagavatam first canto. So we can see that how Krishna arranges in different ways, some ideas comes and people are there to buy Srila Prabhupada's books. There's one, recently when we saw the whole trend of our bus party in Kolhapur, the books were going less. Generally every year when we go for the book distribution in bus party, the score of every bus party every day is 100 plus. But we are seeing that we are doing 85, 90, 95. So devotees were not so much encouraged, especially the brahmacharis in the Sankirtan bus party. So then one very senior devotee in Solapur who has been there for last 25 years, he was traveling and he came to the temple and he saw our devotees and then he asked, "Kitna book ja raha hai roz ka?" So they told Prabhuji only 85. Only 85? And I said, Prabhuji, Gopinath temple Chowpatty, we also require a reference point. Like many times we think that we're trying to distribute books, not much books are going. But if we take a reference point from some other temple, 50,000 Shastradan and they get lakhs of scores. But our scores are more or less dependent on small, they call it in India, tuku. Small runs you score and then you get the whole big score. So there is an amazing thing which has been seen in this last marathon for a few days. That like for example, inspired IYS boys team decided to go on a weekend for book distribution. And when they wanted to go for a weekend book distribution, but they didn't have any facility. So they approached the congregation nearby. And what happened is one particular devotee said, Prabhuji, I cannot do book distribution, but I can drive. I can take my vehicle and take you all. So they decided to go outside Mumbai, nearby Karjat, Khopoli, that area, to do some book distribution. So then the problem was prasadam now. So immediately a few Matajis volunteered and they got up early in the morning and they made nice prasadam which can last for throughout the day. And early morning 5 o'clock the devotees left. So we can see a combined effort here. Few young men wanted to do book distribution but they didn't have help facilities. One congregation devotee helps in driving a vehicle, his own vehicle. Few Matajis come in and they help in prasad, they provide prasad. And then what happens? The whole day is full of experience. These devotees, they went to one place called as Kolhapur. That's a food mall between Pune and Mumbai, where people, most of the buses and cars, they come and take a break. So this one devotee entered into a Shivneri bus. Now you know Shivneri bus, the famous AC bus between Dadar and Pune. So he entered and he made an announcement and few people took the book. Then after the announcement was done, then one man walks in. He had gone to the food court for some food. Then he comes in. So the devotee goes and shows in the book. He showed him the book Basics of Bhagavad Gita. You all know recently Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj compiled a book called Basics of Bhagavad Gita. So that's a BBT book now. So he showed the book. So he took the book. So devotee showed him Krishna book also. So he took that book also. And the man said, actually when I went to the food court, when I opened my pocket, I realized that my 500 rupees note is missing. And I was very much disturbed. And I searched all the places where I visited, where I got down from the bus and went on to the bathroom and all those places. I did not get. I was very frantic. Then I came to the bus and I saw on my seat, this 500 rupees note is lying. And that was the time you approached with the book. So I thought I almost lost that money, Let me utilize this money which I again got for good purpose. So he got the book. Hare Krishna. So in this way we can see that devotees are trying their best all over India, Mumbai, especially in our congregation. One devotee, Shantipurnath, Prabhu is connected to media. He goes and supplies kind of articles for the newspaper. So he got very much inspired. Yesterday he came and connected beautiful points for Gita Jayanti article, the upcoming Gita Jayanti. So he's going to put in the paper there and also give a contact number if you want to contact to distribute books, Shastradan, please contact our temple. Then I think Leela Radha Mataji, she is also doing something for the press. And in this way we can see devotees are trying their best. Gaurahari Prabhu and his counsellors, they found some local D-Mart connection. We don't have permission Western Railway and Central Railway nowadays. So Gaurahari Prabhu, he every month goes and buys grocery from D-Mart. Most of you may be doing D-Mart, Big Bazaar, whatever maybe. So he went to the D-Mart, the manager is known to him. So he asked, can we put a bookstall inside D-Mart? That was very sensational, asking devotees can ask so many things. So he said, well, andar chance nahi hai, but then he said, okay, can you put outside? Okay, you can put outside. Anywhere inside, outside, the same, right? So exactly at the exit, Gaurari put his book stall and he said, books are doing, at least one thing is that we have an avenue for book distribution now. And devotees are enthused that they have a place where they can distribute Srila Prabhupada's books. So in this way, there are a few more nice points. Navin Gopal Prabhu and his Chembur team also doing good. And meanwhile in Virar congregation, Vasai congregation, they are doing their small bit. And in hope and pray that you also do your small bit, and the reference point, the small bit becomes a massive, huge total. Shadbhuj Prabhu from the book Go Down told me that we have dispatched till now, today, 32,000 books. Hari Bol. Now taking another reference point, I asked him, is everything going good? He told me that books have gone, but the momentum is not picked up. So first week, maximum books go, then slowly the momentum decreases, right? But so far, our observation is that momentum in the first week has not taken place. So I think so most of you are still recovering from Yatra and so many events. So kindly visit Shadbhuj Prabhu, Tarun Gaurang Prabhu, book Go Down. Is next to the shoe stall, not much endeavor. You take your shoes and then go to the book stall, book table, book Go Down, and please collect your books. We promise you take books, and if you cannot sell them, please bring it back. We'll take it back. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada Book Marathon ki jai.
हरे कृष्णा. अभी महाराज का प्रवचन अंग्रेजी में होगा. जिन भक्तों को इसका हिंदी में अनुवाद सुनना है वो कृपया करके नीचे भक्ति वेदांता हॉल में चले जाएं. माता जी विथ चिल्ड्रन दे आर रिक्वेस्टेड टू प्रोसीड इन भक्ति सिद्धांत हॉल नेक्स्ट टू भक्ति वेदांता हॉल. Also devotees are requested to kindly put their mobile in silent mode or switch them off. Hare Krishna.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodhanandana Brajachanaranjana Yamuna Thira Panachari Yamuna Thira Panachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Yasodhanandana Brajachanaranjana Yasodhanandana Brajachanaranjana Yasodhanandana Brajachanaranjana Yamuna Thira Panachari Yamuna Thira Panachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayom Vishnupad Paramhansa Paribrajakacharya Asthotar Sutta Sri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Paribrajakacharya Asthotar Sutta Sri Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananti Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivas Adi Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Gidi Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Sri Navadvip Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Sri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Sri Mathura Dham Ki Jai Sri Dwarka Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mahi Ki Jai Yamuna Mahi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Jitendriyasya yuktasya Jita swasasya yoginaha Maidhara yatascheta Upatishtanti siddhayaha. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Jitendriyasya yuktasya Jita swasasya yoginaha Maidhara yatascheta Upatishtanti siddhayaha. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Jitendriyasya yuktasya Jita swasasya yoginaha Maidhara yantas cheta Upatishtanti siddhayaha. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Jita Indriyasya, of one who has conquered his senses, Yuktasya, who has steadied the mind, Jita Swasasya, and conquered his breathing system, Yoginaha, of such a yogi, Mayi, in me, Dharayataha, fixing, Cheta, his consciousness, Upatishtanti, appear, Siddhaya, the mystic perfections of yoga. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Uddhava, the mystic perfections of yoga are acquired by a yogi who has conquered his senses, steadied his mind, conquered the breathing process, and fixed his mind on me. Purport. There are 8 primary mystic perfections, such as Anima Siddhi, and 10 secondary perfections. In this 15th chapter, Lord Krishna will explain that such mystic perfections are actually impediments to the development of Krishna consciousness, and that therefore one should not desire them. Om Gyantimidandasya Gyananjana Chalakaya Chakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadhati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juthapadakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavanscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatham Sahakana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahakana Valita Sri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Ranamani Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 15, entitled Description of Yoga Perfections. Text number 1. very grateful to be with you today. Haribol, Yadubar Prabhu, our senior esteemed God brother, has appeared to bless us. Let us welcome him very enthusiastically. His film about Srila Prabhupada and the Hare Krishna movement has now been translated into several of the local Indian languages. And he's here in India translating them into all languages. And I believe they're available on DVDs. So please, if possible, reciprocate with his life of dedication to this service. And before I forget, thank you, Baladev Prabhu, for your wonderful report on this month's book distribution. He was speaking of momentum. Please limitlessly increase momentum. It unifies our community. It purifies Maharashtra and all of India. And most of all, it gives great pleasure to Srila Prabhupada. And by doing so, we give very great pleasure to Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. So, in whatever way possible, please let us enthusiastic make some dedicated sacrifice for this supreme cause. We're continuing the discussion between Uddhava and Lord Krishna. The previous chapter was entitled The Yoga System. The chapter we are beginning today is entitled Description of Mystic Yoga Perfections. By studying these texts directly spoken by Krishna, we can get such a wonderful appreciation of the ultimate purpose of yoga and why Krishna has personally established through his various empowered sages the process of yoga. In almost each and every one of Krishna's slokas describing the yogic processes and how to achieve perfections, Krishna describes that it is only possible in truth, and each process emphatically includes, fixing one's mind on the form of Krishna, on the form of Vishnu. In the yogic perfections, anima, which is the power to become smaller than the smallest, to enter into even stone. To get this power in its true form, one must absorb oneself totally in meditating on the form of Lord Vishnu, who is personally within every atomic particle of creation. Mahima, to become greater than the greatest, one should meditate upon Mahavishnu, who is greater than the greatest. By meditating on Mahavishnu, by connecting to him, we develop these incredible powers. And similarly, in each and every one of these primary 8 mystic perfections, the siddhis, and the 10 supplementary ones, Krishna describes one achieves it by meditating on the corresponding quality of Krishna or Vishnu within the creation. And that without this meditation on Vishnu, in this way, we can only achieve reflections of the shadow of the true siddhis, which to people in this world appear to be extraordinary and supernatural. But compared to the actual siddhi, they're just shadows. And after Krishna explains in wonderful detail what the siddhis are, what the powers, and what you can do when you get these siddhis, and how to achieve them, Krishna concludes this chapter by telling that actually a devotee does not want any of these siddhis because they're impediments to pure devotional service. If Krishna gives them to us, then we can use them in his service. But a devotee, Krishna says, does not desire or aspire for them. He simply desires the satisfaction of Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prayed, na dhanam na janam, na dhanam na janam, na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye, mama janmani janmanishwari, bhavatad bhakti rahoite kitvai. He's praying that I do not want great wealth. I do not want very high, prestigious birth, fame. I do not want to enjoy the beauty of the opposite sex. I do not even want the great mystic siddhis. And beyond the mystic siddhis is mukti, or liberation. He has no desire even for that. Simply he desires and prays to serve the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, without motivation, without interruption, for Krishna's satisfaction. Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayana sudurlabha prasantatma kotishvapi mahamune. That even among those who have, among many people who have attained liberation, how difficult it is to achieve liberation. How many people do you know who have achieved mukti? There's over 1 billion people in India. How many have actually achieved mukti? Muktanam api siddhanam. And how many have attained these mystical perfections? Not just the shadows of them, but the true mystical perfections of yoga. Srimad Bhagavatam tells, out of many of those who have achieved mukti and siddhis, and who have attained great material prowess, it's very rare to find even one who is Narayana Parayana, a pure devotee of the Lord. Narayan. Because only such a people, only such a person who has taken shelter of the Lord can truly be peaceful, can find the true happiness of divine love. through the ascending process of our incredible determined efforts, which require very steadfast renunciation, one can achieve the siddhis and even mukti. What to speak of elevation to higher planets. But bhakti, prema, love for the Supreme Lord, the eternal natural condition of the soul, can never be attained. It's the descending process. Because it's so rare. Rupa Goswami tells that pure devotion, Krishna comes under the control of his pure devotee. Krishna is Parameshwar. He's the supreme controller. Why would he want to give up his control? Because by his own sweet will, his nature is to attract everyone's hearts with love, with his all-attractive qualities. By his love for us. If we just open our hearts to receive it. And we are part and parcel of Krishna. That love is dormant within our hearts too as part of Krishna. And Krishna reciprocates. When a devotee is totally conquered by his love, Krishna's greatest happiness is to be conquered by the love of his devotee. So he gives this love, he gives this prema to one who is truly sincere. Samsiddhir haritoshanam, who really aspires for only one perfection, and that is to give pleasure to Krishna. And this entire discussion between Krishna and Uddhava, Krishna is telling us what pleases him. And he's also explaining how valuable bhakti truly is. And bhakti yoga is the process by which we please Krishna and receive this bhakti, this love. When Krishna goes into some details about what we can accomplish when we achieve these powers, becoming so tiny and small we could go anywhere, becoming so big we practically encompass the universe, by getting anything we desire, by reading people's minds, by controlling other people. So many of these different siddhis. When we read about them, we understand working hard to make money is nothing. It's insignificant. You have just one of these siddhis and you can get everything. And far beyond. What to speak of being healthy. Krishna wants to explain how great these siddhis are. And then when he tells that a devotee doesn't want them because they're impediments, how great bhakti is. How great the awakening of love of God is. It's infinitely more satisfying, infinitely more fulfilling, beneficial. than anything else. When in the bhakti path we hear the glories of mukti, it's really not to aspire for mukti. Because the Brahmananda, the ecstasy of being merged into Brahman, liberated from all sufferings forever, apparently, and the happiness of that state, just being in pure existence, it's hundreds of billions of times more than any material satisfaction. But it's not even a drop compared to the ocean of happiness one gets from the loving service of Krishna. The inhabitants of Vrindavan and Vaikuntha. So it's very important. Unless we understand how valuable something is, we don't take it seriously. It's like we go on with our life, but if somehow or other we get some life-threatening disease, then we start to understand how valuable it is to be alive. We don't take it for granted. And we also start, if it seems quite hopeless, we start thinking about what's next. We take it very seriously. So in this way it is very important. We don't take things cheaply or for granted. We truly understand the value. And Srila Prabhupada, he would tell us, if only you could understand the value of what you're being given. It helps us to not be distracted. Dhruva Maharaj, when he was trying to get a kingdom greater than his father, grandfather, great-grandfather, an enormous kingdom with so much power, so much fame, so much popularity, so much wealth, beyond anything anybody could strive for in this world of Kali Yuga. And he actually saw Krishna. And Krishna came to give him all those things. But when Dhruva saw Krishna, Prishnigarbha form, he said, I don't want these things. Lord Narayan told him, but I know why you came to the forest. I know why you did all this tapasya. I've come to give you everything you wanted. That's quite a temptation. For most of us, we would probably say, well, since you've come and you've come specially to give me all these things, and I've already seen you, so I'll take all that extra. But Dhruva, he responded that I was looking for broken pieces of glass, and now you're giving me the rare jewel of your darshan. I only want to be the servant of your servant. I don't want anything else. And Krishna gave him that. But then Krishna said, it will please me if you go back and become the king. So he didn't perform his work because he desired to do so. He accepted all of these things because it pleased Krishna. And he performed his duty for Krishna, and he did it so perfectly. And then when it was time, when he could hand it over to someone else, nobody overthrew him. Nobody outvoted him. He just gave it all away. Went to Badrikashram, where he had nothing except the association of sadhus, and he could completely immerse himself in hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. Whatever powers we can achieve, however great, even in Siddhaloka, where all the residents, by their previous karma, they have achieved perfections of all the 8 cities, beyond anyone can imagine in this world. But even they, in due course of time, they have to lose it all. Even they are not fully satisfied. Krishna tells us the value of what we have, how much greater the heavenly world is, how much greater the Siddhaloka is, how much greater mukti is. And he's only explaining all these things so that we can grasp what we have the opportunity to achieve, which is limitlessly beyond all these other goals of life. It's the essence. Bahunam janmanam mante jnanavamam papadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sadurlabha. Even after many births of acquiring knowledge, jnana, when one comes to the platform of the purpose of all knowledge, one surrenders, takes shelter of Krishna. We want to be controllers. But a devotee understands Krishna is the supreme controller. And when we take satisfaction in loving Krishna and seeing his power of control, there's such a limitless happiness in that we don't care about being a controller. These 6 opulences of Krishna. The opulences everyone wants in the world. When we take satisfaction in hearing about, recognizing Krishna having these, it's limitlessly better, more fulfilling, more meaningful than having them ourselves. The nature of selfless love is we're more happy for the success, for the greatness, for the qualities of our beloved than we are for ourselves. A loving mother is more satisfied to see her child succeed in various ways, than she is herself, because that's love. So similarly, when we love Krishna, then our greatest happiness is hearing people glorify Krishna's beauty. In this world, we love to boast about whatever we may have. If we're beautiful, we want to attract people. If we're knowledgeable, even as devotees, we want to attract people. If we have wealth, we want to attract fame, strength, renunciation. But a devotee understands whatever there is that I can do is infinitesimal, temporary. And ultimately it doesn't touch the heart. But when we take happiness in Krishna's beauty, Krishna's strength, his knowledge, his fame, his wealth and his renunciation, then we become infinitely happy. And we become endowed with all good qualities. One who loves God becomes godly. Because Krishna then shines through us. When we're absorbed in Krishna, then we become an instrument of Krishna. When we start to develop love for Krishna, or even have the sincere intention to love Krishna, then Krishna shines through us to attract other people to him. And what happiness is more than that? If people are attracted to me, I just get complicated and implicated in false ego. But if I could help people become attracted to Krishna, I'm giving them something that will liberate them forever. It's the most beautiful thing. There's nothing more satisfying. There's nothing more meaningful. So Krishna is the supreme controller, and he's Yogeshwar. He's the ultimate master of all yoga. To love Krishna as the greatest of all yogis. Not only does he have all the mystic cities in their complete spiritual fullness, but it's forever. And even the greatest of the yogis who attain the most mystifying perfections, it's only an infinitesimal part of a parcel of a reflection of Krishna. So how wonderful is Krishna? And this story is given again and again in our Vedic scriptures. In Srimad Bhagavatam we find Prahlad. Hiranyakashipu had such mystic perfections. Even before he got his benedictions of Brahma, he was such a yogi. This is before the blessings came. He could stand on the tips of his toes for a duration of time, which practically all the generations that we could possibly know about of our forefathers and foremothers, he was standing on the tip of his toes for that time and more, without moving. And an anthill was built around him, totally covered him, and all the millions of ants were eating his flesh away and drinking his blood. It's not something that happens instantly. Little by little, the ants were biting him. And he was such a powerful person. With his mighty hands, he could have crushed every one of those ants in a second. But he just tolerated with his hands above his head. And after years and years and generations of our time, the ants completely devoured all his flesh and drank all his blood. And he could keep his life force within the bones of his body. Hare Krishna. And then Brahma came and gave him blessings. And one of the blessings is nobody within this world, no humans, no animals, No, none of the 8,400,000 species of life, including the demigods, no one could defeat him. And he also asked for the benediction of mystic cities, the yogic cities, and he achieved them. He was unconquerable. The demigods, even in Siddhaloka, who have so much of everything, even they were afraid of Indra. I mean, not Indra, Hiranyakashipu. Sometimes they're afraid of Indra too. But even Indra was afraid of Hiranyakashipu. And Prahlad was just 5 years old. He never demonstrated any siddhis. He never demonstrated any powers. He just loved Krishna and taught other people how to love Krishna. He saw his father. He conquered so much of the universe. Everyone was obeying him, including the devatas. But he didn't want any of that. Param drisva nivartate, because he was experiencing something so much higher. He offered respect to his father as a matter of etiquette. But he didn't take seriously any of the knowledge and powers that his father had, because it was all being misused. And he was absorbed in Krishna, who is the supreme reservoir of all opulences. And even when Hiranyakashipu tried to kill and intimidate Prahlad in every way possible within his creative intelligence, Prahlad Maharaj never even asked for help. He just took shelter of Krishna. Then we find Ambarish Maharaj. He was a grihasta. He had his wife, children. He was performing his duty as a king. Durvasa, who was an expansion of Shiva, he had such mystical powers. He was one of the most powerful and respected sages in the entire universe. The type of supernatural feats that he could do were incredible. He was a yogi, totally renounced from any material desires, as far as gross desires. But when he felt that he wasn't being respected properly, he still had ego. He became so angry. And just by chanting a mantra and taking a single hair from his head and throwing it on the ground, he created a fiery, monstrous form that could practically devour the entire world. Just because he felt disrespected by Ambarish. And Ambarish, his intention was only to give him all respect. But he made a mistake, perhaps. Ambarish, he didn't send his armies or even try to defend himself. He just took shelter of Krishna. He had no ego. And because he took shelter of Krishna like Prahlad, Vishnu came to save him. He sent his Sudarshan Chakra. It dispatched the fiery demon, the monster, and then it went to Durvasa, When the fiery messenger of death came to Ambarish, he just stood in one place, folded his hands, and prayed, Krishna, I'm yours. That's all. He didn't say, Krishna, save me. He just said, Krishna, I'm yours. When the Sudarshan came toward Durvasa, he ran away. And when he couldn't run fast enough, he began to fly in the sky. And when he couldn't fly fast enough, he went all the way, to Brahmaloka, to Shivaloka, to Vishnu Loka. And Vishnu told Ambarish Maharaj and told the whole world that he told Durvasa that because Ambarish Maharaj is my devotee, he's given his heart to me, I've given my heart to him. Because he lives only for me, I live only for him. And then Durvasa understood the difference between pure devotion and great powers. When one takes shelter of the supreme power, then one is in one's natural position. In Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, the story of Kolavecha Sridhar. He was so simple. He was so poor materially, living in a little thatched one-room hut. Just a dirt floor and straw walls, straw roof. Wild pumpkins would grow on his roof. When it rained, so many water would come inside. He had no furniture, just had an old dented iron pot that he used for all purposes. He kept outside his door. He was criticized, ridiculed by the neighboring people. During the Mahaprakash Leela, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered him liberation. He offered him the wealth of a king. He offered him, especially emphasized, the perfection of the 8 mystic cities. All these yogic powers. And Sridhar, he refused. He said, I don't want these things. They're simply distractions. Well, what do you want? Like Dhruva, like Prahlad, like Ambarish, he only wanted the blessing to be the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Because that's what pleases the Lord. In more recent times, we find a beautiful story in the life of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. In the year 1871, when he was living in Orissa, Puri, it was around that time that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bimala Prasad, was born. But while he was there, he was doing government service. And he was under British rule at the time. And there was a yogi, extremely powerful yogi in the eyes of common people. His name was Bishi Kishan. What he did is, by his mystic powers, he cured so many people who had incurable diseases. And by doing so, he became very popular. He could perform these miracles through his chanting of mantras, through his various mystic processes. People who were suffering or dying, he would make them fine. But he wasn't doing it out of compassion. He was doing it with ego. He claimed to be Mahavishnu. And he became so infatuated by his powers that he wrote a letter and circulated it, declaring that he was Mahavishnu, and he was declaring war against all the foreigners who had invaded India. And he wrote a particular date, the 14th day of the month of Chaitra. On this day, you will witness, I will manifest my four-arm form and annihilate all the mlechas. So this made him even more famous. But because he was so proud by his powers, he thought he could do anything. But he still had ego and he still had desires. Spiritual advancement is to purify the heart from selfish desires. It's not accumulating various powers. So he advertised among all the local villages. At that time, he had a little ashram just outside of, in a jungle, just outside of Bhuvaneshwar. And he invited the young women of the villages to come on the day of Ras Purnima to perform Rasa Lila with him. Because after all, he was Mahavishnu, he was Krishna. And they came. But what happened is some of the villagers who lived in that area and the towns, who were actually very cultured people, they understood that he polluted, he exploited, he broke the chastity of so many of these girls. So they were outraged. They reported it to the district commissioner, whose name was Mr. Revenshaw. And Mr. Revenshaw, when he heard that this person was abducting young girls, having sexual relations with them in the name of being Vishnu, the district commissioner took it so seriously that he approached Bhaktivinoda Thakur and told him, please investigate this. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his investigation was so thorough. The first thing he did, he just didn't listen to rumors. Thakur Bhaktivinoda immediately went right to the jungle ashram of Bishi Kishan. And he spoke to him. He asked him, what are you doing? Bishi Kishan told him that I am the living form of Mahavishnu. And yet foolish people, they go to the temple of Jagannath. Jagannath is just a dead wooden statue. But I am the living supreme being. Immediately Bhaktivinoda Thakur could understand. And then he told him all his plans. And he was telling Bhaktivinoda Thakur all the great accomplishments he has achieved and all the help he has done for so many people. He was praising Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He was saying all these things to get Bhaktivinoda on his side. After hearing everything directly from him and seeing what was going around, Bhaktivinoda Thakur arrested him. He brought him to jail. And then, before the court case, Bhaktivinoda Thakur did a very, very complete investigation. And he got large, large sums of clear evidence of how corrupt and exploitative this person was. What to speak of starting a bogus revolution. So when it came to the trial, Bhishikisha not only had the power to cure people of incurable diseases, but he also had the power to give people incurable diseases. And that's what he did. While he was in prison, just as the trial was going on, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur was the judge, Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself and all the members of his family came down with serious life-threatening diseases. Some of his family members were on the verge of death. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was in such a condition, it seemed impossible for him to even carry on the court case. But he was not intimidated. Why? Because he was taking shelter of Krishna. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, like the other Mahajans and Acharyas we were speaking about, he didn't demonstrate any powers. He was very, very ill. He appeared to be succumbing to this mystic yogi's power, Bhishikishan. But somehow or other, with high fever and everything, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was taking shelter of Krishna. I'm your instrument. How can I serve you? He still went to trial, and he found Bhishikishan guilty and sentenced him to 1.5 years in prison. And because Bhishikishan was so popular, he had thousands and thousands and thousands of followers who were all demonstrating and threatening. It wasn't just him. It was a very scary part of history. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was doing Krishna's work, Krishna Seva. And eventually Bhaktivinoda Thakur cut off certain locks of his hair and diminished the powers of Bhishikishan. And this man was so powerful, he declared that he would fast until he was released. He took no food and no water for 21 days. And at the culmination, would you like to know what happened? He died. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur and his whole family were cured. So this is the contrast between one who has great, great powers and one who's a humble devotee who's sincerely taking shelter of the Lord. When Srila Prabhupada was on Jaladuta, he had so many physical ailments. But what a supernatural power he had to go to a place he had never been, he didn't know anyone, he had no resources, and start a worldwide movement that would continue to expand year after year, even after his disappearance from this world. But Srila Prabhupada in his prayers, he was simply taking shelter of Krishna. Krishna, I'm yours. Sharanagati. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he wrote a beautiful book of prayers entitled Sharanagati. Seeking shelter of the Supreme Lord. Sarva dharman purityasya mam ekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishami masuja. So the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. In the Gita, Krishna also describes in the 6th chapter the mystic yoga process. He describes the karma yoga process, the jnana yoga process. He describes the bhakti yoga process. He goes through all, in essence, the systems of the different forms of yoga. And he culminates, abandon all varieties of dharma and just surrender to me. Surrender means to sincerely seek shelter. Krishna, I'm yours. And the dangers, the impediments in this world, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his life history, he went through so many difficulties. As did Srila Prabhupada, as did so many of our acharyas. But in those difficulties, they took shelter. They did everything they could to carry out their service, but in their hearts, they were absorbed in seeking shelter of the Lord. Gajendra, he tried all of his efforts, which is our duty to try as best we can to save our bodies and to save our families' safety. It's our duty within this world. But in our hearts, we should know that we really can't do any of these things for long. We take shelter. Gajendra gave his life to Vishnu, and Vishnu came to save him. This is the repeating theme of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Brijbasis. So many mystic yogis were coming. Do you know anyone who's working in your office who can assume the form of a snake that's 8 miles long? Who can assume the form of a woman that's 12 miles long? Putana. These mystic yogis were incredible, how powerful they were. was Putana, Trinavarta, taking the form of a hurricane. Sakatasura, Bakasura, Vatsasura, Keshi, Aristasura. These were yogis who were so supernatural they can change their form. Aristasura was a bull. He was actually a person, human, but he changed his form by his own sweet will into this gigantic bull. And the hump on his back was surrounded by the clouds. That's how big he was. And he was roaring, galloping into Vrindavan. And whenever these, even Indra has so much powers, such cities. By his will, he could create such rainstorms, such thunder and lightning. And whether it was Indra or whether it was these mystical yogi demons, what did the Brijabasis do? When that demon appeared in the massive fire that was reaching the stars, they all took shelter of Krishna. That's why they're Brijabasis. Because in every situation Nanda Maharaj didn't manifest a huge form to combat Kaliya. He fell on the ground unconscious, seeing Krishna in the coils of Kaliya. And Yashoda Mai, she didn't manifest a four-arm form. She didn't become a giant peacock to kill Kaliya. She just fell on the ground weeping and crying, seeing Krishna's condition. In every situation, they all took shelter of Krishna. Even Srimati Radharani did not try to fight against Kaliya. She just took shelter of Krishna. In every situation, wherever there was danger, the Brijabasis wholeheartedly fixed their mind in taking shelter of Krishna. And in doing so, Krishna, he always saved everyone. In the case of Kaliya, he saved all the Brijabasis, but most of all, he saved himself, which was the greatest happiness for all the Brijabasis. Because each one of them was willing to die 1,000,000 times for one moment of Krishna's pleasure. So this is the true treasure and wealth of life, is the opportunity to take shelter of Krishna, who is Parameshwar, the controller of all controllers, who is Yogeshwar, the supreme master of all yoga. And ultimately, who is Gopinath. Because all of these other names of Krishna are in relationship to his Aishwaryas, his powers, his opulences of this world. But in his own abode, the greatest power is he's the Lord of the gopis. He's giving shelter to everyone, inviting us to enter into his eternal pastimes of love. So let us not get distracted by the foolish things of this world, the foolish temptations, the foolish fears. In whatever situation, our perfection is taking shelter of Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna, is giving us access to the complete shelter of Krishna through chanting of his names. He's given us this Maha Mantra, by which he is personally living, he is personally present to give shelter. Japa, Kirtan, Harikatha, Srimad Bhagavatam in this age of Kali is giving shelter to everyone. So after understanding all these beautiful instructions of Lord Sri Krishna, what is the value of the holy names? What is the value of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita? What is the value of the association of devotees who empower us to take shelter of the holy names in Srimad Bhagavatam? These are our shelters. Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he prayed that the essence of all dharma is developing a taste for the holy names, developing a taste for hearing about Krishna and all of his incarnations, and showing compassion to the suffering beings. Service to the Vaishnavas, preaching this message, and taking shelter of the holy names. So simple, so direct, and so available to everyone. But we should never take it lightly, because we advance to the extent we really appreciate the value. And we're grateful. We know Kamala Dala Jala Jivana Dala Mala Bhajahun Hari Padani Tide. We know that everything we have in this world, our life itself, is like a drop of water on a lotus leaf. At any moment, and inevitably, it will all slip away. But yet we put so much value on that, on all these things, all these situations. Taking shelter of Krishna is the most valuable thing. The Purushartha Shiromani, the crest jewel of all goals of life. And that shelter is found in the association of Vaishnavas. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord in that association. And in the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Please do so sincerely, seeking shelter. That opportunity is here for all of us, 24 hours a day, to find shelter in Krishna's names. And as Bhakti Vinod Thakur tells, showing compassion, jivadoya, to the living beings of this world who are suffering, is one of the greatest ways of pleasing Krishna and getting the shelter of Krishna. this month there's a wonderful opportunity to give that shelter and receive that shelter by distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. So please let us mobilize our energies and make Baladev happy. I'm speaking about Baladev, who has appeared as Lord Nityananda Prabhu. But if we make Baladev Prabhu happy, then Baladev will also be happy. Thank you very much. Is there time for questions? While the microphone is coming to Nanda Vrindavan Prabhu, I am going to perform some short duty and I'll be returning in just a few minutes.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, we are very grateful and thankful for what we got it from Gaudiya Sampradaya. The mercy of Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We came to one very clear conclusion that only by chanting the holy name and serving the Vaishnavas, we can reach to the peak of Krishna consciousness and without doing all these mystical things. But one doubt we always used to have is that all these acharyas which you have mentioned and all the great souls, we might not reach to that level of complete surrender. Even if we are trying our level best to some extent or the other, but we might not be able to reach to that level. And finally then afterwards we come to understanding that finally now I tried my level best, but the causeless mercy is the only hope for me to get the highest destination in my Krishna consciousness. We try, but finally years and years of shortcut, bursts and bursts of our shortcomings are there. And within one lifetime, how it is possible that it can go tough within such a short span of time? Even if we try, but then causeless mercy is the only way. And finally, even after causeless mercy, that fear is there, that we are a beggar. Finally, a causeless mercy means we are begging from Krishna, and Krishna can give it and Krishna does not give it, and we cannot argue with Krishna that why you are not giving me. Because finally, what can a beggar can ask? He can get it, it's well and good. If he doesn't get it, he just have to accept it. He cannot argue. He just have to accept and be peaceful. So that fear is there in our heart is, if we don't reach to the perfection standard, which we are not going to reach, and causeless mercy will be the only reason, can we get some indication before we leave our body that what Krishna has decided our destination? Because what happens is, Maharaj, this is what I feel it is my problem is, we feel it that I am in Mahaprabhu's movement. Mahaprabhu will give me my causeless mercy. I'll try my level best and Mahaprabhu will give causeless mercy. But in Bhagavatam there are cases. Bharat Maharaj couldn't get causeless mercy. He had to take once again the birth. Chitraketu Maharaj couldn't get it. He had to take once again. Even Indradumna Maharaj also had to become a crocodile. So we know on one side we know all those examples. On the other side we know it. I am with Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu's causeless mercy will come. But if at all I don't get causeless mercy, I have to accept it because there is no other way. And if I have a very big dream in my life, I'll get causeless mercy. And the Lord decides it, no, you are not going to get it. You have to take once again the birth over here and go on suffer and suffer and suffer. We have to accept it because there is no other way. But if we come to know before we leave our body that this is what Lord has decided for me, mentally I have to be prepared to come once again and go on suffering with birth, death, old age and disease, then we are mentally peaceful. Okay, what can we do? So if we don't have that type of a decision from the Lord, and we have a very high expectation that I'll get causeless mercy, and Krishna says, no, you have to come back, then to maintain that mental stability, that okay, I thought very big thing, but now I have to come back again over here. That will keep a lots of disturbance in our consciousness, and that disturbance will disturb our Krishna consciousness in the next birth. So Maharaj, can we get some indication from Krishna that what he has decided for us before we leave our body, so that we are mentally prepared that what I am supposed to do in future? So can you tell us what is the type of indication Krishna can give us?
These are the similar points that a person in your situation throughout your life were trying to convince people to buy stocks. You're a stock consultant. Yes. So you're trying to convince people why they should invest. Today's your birthday? Today Ananda Vrindavan Prabhu, I believe, is 56 years old. Let us all say Hari Bol. Does that answer your question? You have to give up your desire to understand Krishna in full. Krishna is independent. He's Swarat. But we do have faith that he knows what's best for us. Mukunda Dutt, he was told 10 million births, then he will see the Lord. And he was happy. He was happy to go on with his sadhana and go on with his seva for 10 million births, because what is 10 million births in comparison to the blessing of having the eternal loving service to Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If Krishna wants you to know, he will tell you. But in Bhagavad Gita, he does tell us. And Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadev Goswami does tell us. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his instructions does tell us. And on their behalf, Srila Prabhupada told us that if we just take shelter of Krishna with earnest and sincere hearts, then Krishna can do whatever he wants with us. That's what taking shelter means. Taking shelter is not demanding, Krishna, I'm doing this for you, so make sure you do not give me another birth in this world. Taking shelter is, Krishna, I'm giving the best I can possibly be for you. And you do as you like, I'm yours. We can't demand Krishna to show himself to us. Our Param Guru Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, do not try to seek Krishna, but try to serve Krishna in a way that he's pleased to see us. So we take shelter, and if we feel that we are on the level of the previous acharyas, or these great souls that we're speaking about, then we cannot really seek shelter. Because each and every one of the acharyas are speaking about themselves as the most fallen. Patita pavana hetu tava avakar. Mosamopatita prabhu na poidaya. Thakur Narottam, the Param Guru of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He's praying in this way. You are the most merciful to the most fallen, and I'm the most fallen. And the same prayer Rupa and Sanatana Goswami offered to Lord Chaitanya. So we don't compare ourselves to the great souls. We try to follow in their footsteps. And the more humble and unqualified we are, the more we can truly take shelter of their instructions. And it's an impediment that we have to know exactly where we're going. If we're putting ourselves in the hands of Krishna, then Krishna, I'm yours. Srila Prabhupada wrote that Krishna, I'm your puppet. Make me dance as you want me to dance. That's actually the mood of surrender. We sincerely surrender according to our capacity, like Gajendra taking shelter. We sincerely, Prabhupada saw taking shelter in its initial stages and throughout our lives in following the basic instructions of chanting at least 16 rounds every day. Try to be as attentive as possible. As far as possible, to be chanting the names throughout the day, but at least 16 rounds. Rastaprayeshu Bhadreshu, to regularly read his books, to read Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion, all these wonderful Vaishnava literatures. To sincerely serve. And we've been emphasizing last few days that our service should be for the pleasure of our gurus and Krishna. Should be in a mood of appreciating other service. Should be in the mood of cooperation. Should be in the mood of determination to please Krishna. And there are so many opportunities for service. to follow these four regulative principles, to live a life of integrity and character. And if we start thinking we're great, then we become proud. And that spoils our devotion. We're performing all these devotional acts and offerings in a humble mood of seeking shelter of Krishna, understanding the value of Krishna consciousness, being willing to pay whatever price to get Krishna consciousness. Rupa Goswami tells that to get bhakti we must have lolyam. We must have the deep aspiration for that. And that aspiration is expressed through how we perform our sadhana, how we perform our seva, and through the character in which we live. And if we do everything sincerely, with all of our shortcomings, with humility, you can't take shelter without a humble heart. You can't take shelter without a grateful heart. It's all superficial without. Then Krishna, you do it as you like. If you want me to take another birth or another 10 births, I'm grateful to serve your devotees. Murari Gupta and Mahaprakash, what was the blessing he asked for? It wasn't even to go back to Godhead. He said, in the next birth I take, let me have the association of your devotees. In whatever birth you may want me to take, let me be in the company of those who consider you their master and consider themselves to be the servant. And when Lord Chaitanya offered Haridas Thakur any benediction, he said, let me be even an insect living outside of the house of your devotees, so that I can get the Mahaprasad that they throw out of their house after their meals. The Saint Tukaram, he wanted to be an insect in the bathroom of a devotee, so that when they washed their feet, he could drink the water in his next birth. So they're not demanding, Krishna, I don't want another birth. They're just surrendering to Krishna, taking shelter of Krishna with such great appreciation. And it's this consciousness, this unconditional, unmotivated consciousness of taking shelter that attracts Krishna to take us back home, back to God. Bhaktivinoda Thakur prays, in my next birth let me be a dog close to the house of your devotee. Krishna knows best. We just give our hearts and our lives and complement everything in such a way that it's in harmony with what pleases Krishna. And we learn to cry out the holy names. And with great hunger, we try to develop a hunger for hearing the scriptures. Harikatha. This is what we're supposed to do. This is what pleases Krishna. That's all that matters. So invest in this. And trust that, what do you call it, dividends?
We talk about appreciation. We get If you get very good appreciation, we feel that this is wonderful investment.
Well, if you appreciate what you've been given, then Krishna will give you all appreciations. Does that answer your question? What is Krishna's message at the end of Gita? He says, abandon all varieties of religion, just surrender to me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. And sometimes it's translated, do not worry. Haribol. Is there one more question? Yes, Dwarkadish Prabhu.
Haribol. Maharaj, the pure devotees of the Lord have reached the perfection of yoga. And Prabhupada says in the Gita that automatically they conferred upon the mystic perfections. They just get it. Even though they not tried for it, they just got it. How do the pure devotees, what do they do with those mystic powers? They do not ask for it, they conferred upon them as by Krishna's causeless grace. How and when do they use these powers in the Lord's service?
According to Krishna's will. For some, we have seen great acharyas at certain situations. They reveal certain powers. They reveal their eternal identity, like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Narottam Das Thakur. When someone was blaspheming him, the person got leprosy, and then Narottam told him to chant the holy names, and he chanted, and he got cured of leprosy, and got cured of all material diseases also. But the way they were using their mystic powers were simply according to the direction of Krishna. And Krishna may give a devotee all mystic powers, but not give them even the understanding that they have any of them. Because in pure devotional service, everything's included. But it doesn't necessarily mean that Krishna even makes you aware that you have it. You know, the Brijabasis had all mystic powers. But when the demons come, it didn't seem like they were thinking, well, for the sake of Krishna's pastime, I'm not going to do anything. But actually I could do it. I have the power to kill all these demons. They were completely unaware that they had any mystic powers. They just considered themselves the most common little cowherd boys and cowherd girls. Although in their love, that included every mystic power. But they were unaware, because it would have interfered with their devotion. So Krishna covered it. So in one sense, as we have Srila Prabhupada explains, just coming to the path of bhakti means we've already gone through so many things. What to speak of as we start making spiritual advancement. But to protect us, oftentimes Krishna doesn't even let us know we have it. Yes, you're a doctor. Sometimes we see great devotees taking medicine. Because it is a distraction. So sometimes pure devotees don't even know they have by Krishna's arrangement. And sometimes they may know, but it's only according to when Krishna manifests his will that it's displayed. And we see that in the life of many previous acharyas. And Srila Prabhupada said there are great devotees who have supernatural powers, but even if they know they have them, they will not display them, because if they do, they'll just attract people for the wrong thing, for cheap adoration. They just live and they teach Trinada Visunichena. How to surrender to Krishna with love. Srila Prabhupada was totally fearless. But when there was obstacles, sometimes he had to fight court cases. Krishna could have given, and perhaps he could have done. But Srila Prabhupada taught us that great devotees usually they will not disclose such things. They will even try to not disclose their ecstasies. They simply want to teach by their example the greatness of Krishna, the greatness of love for Krishna. Does that answer? Thank you. Today, all the heroic questioners have come
Hare Krishna
forward.
Maharaj. Thank you for a wonderful class. In the lecture, you mentioned one very beautiful point that we should try to help others to get attracted to the opulences of Krishna and not be attracted to our opulences. So the tendency is that the entire material world is running on that principle, and it was very stark the way you brought it out. So how do we do this? Because even sometimes when we are trying to help others to be attracted to Krishna, somewhere, our false pride tries to get, we try to bring out our own opulences in that also, So as a pride as a preacher also sometimes comes out, and we try to get them attracted to the way we are speaking, the way we are singing, like that. So how do we avoid that? Because that pride somehow or the other it keeps coming up. So how do we avoid that?
Krishna does attract the world through his devotees. So if people become attracted to any of us, if we know that whatever they're attracted to is what Krishna's given to me, Punar Mushtaka Bhava, if I become proud, he could take it all away too. So if people become attracted to us, if we take it for ourselves, then that is a great impediment. But if we understand I'm just an instrument, I'm just a puppet, whatever they're attracted to is actually Krishna and the Guru Parampara's mercy. I'm just a little outlet that they could connect to. So we want to become outlets. We want to help people connect. So sometimes a devotee puts him or herself in a situation where people are attracted. But we must, through hearing and chanting and through good proper association, we have to be in the mood of service if we're going to truly be effective. I'm just the servant of the servant of the servant. And we should be eager to appreciate others and give credit to others. As we often say, Srila Prabhupada, he would give all credit to his guru. He would give all credit to his disciples. And how many people today are attracted to Srila Prabhupada? But that's why we're so attracted to Srila Prabhupada. Because he is a pure vessel of Krishna's compassion in this world. So we're all vessels. But an empty vessel, by Krishna's grace, if he fills us with his mercy and gives a continuous filling, then that's his greatness. Otherwise we're empty. Does that answer the question? Thank you. Thank you, Krishna Chandra Prabhu. Your birthday was just a few days ago?
Indian Vaishnava.
Which day?
Yesterday.
Yesterday. Really? Krishna Chandra Prabhu's birthday was yesterday. Huh? No?
Friday.
December 7th. December 7th was a very holy day because it was Krishna Chandra Prabhu's birthday. Everyone, please let us express our gratitude by chanting Hari Bol.
So it's a really always a very joyous occasion, when we hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, particularly when Radhanath Maharaj is here, and we understand what Krishna consciousness is about, even if we are not anywhere there, but we have a deep desire to go towards that. And then we see young couples who want to get married, making such a major decision, coming together exactly for that same purpose. So it's a very, very joyous occasion. It's like a climax for them also. So we have three couples who have been eagerly waiting to get the blessings of all the devotees and Radha Gopinath ji. So may I ask Vilas Jabade Prabhu to stand up. So Vilas Prabhu is connected to the movement for the past 7 years. He's chanting rounds. He has done his post-graduation in MMS in finance, runs his own business in investment and event management. He is also enrolled in various services and connected to the Goregaon program arrangements for weekly program, Kirtan Seva and Yatra arrangements. And may I ask Supriya Gotale Mataji to please stand up. She is connected also from the last 6 months. She's already been chanting 6 rounds. And she has done her MA, B.Ed and works as a desk manager in Mantralaya in the Chief Minister's office. So may I ask everyone to, from their hearts, please give the blessings by loudly chanting Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Okay. You can sit down. May I ask Preeti Radhe Devi Dasi, Preeti Radhe Mataji to stand up. Mataji has had an educational background. She is masters in biotechnology. She is working as a medical writer in a research company. She has been connected to ISKCON since 2004, and she renders services in DT kitchen, cooking, festival decoration, drama, Chetna services, Rath Yatra services. And may I ask Shyam Kirtan Prabhu to stand up, please. Shyam Kirtan Prabhu has done his MBA in International Finance from Melbourne, Australia. He worked in Australia for 6 years. He is currently working as a manager of the real estate company. He is connected to ISKCON since 1996. He lived in the VTA for a year. He grew up in a devotee family and he's been doing wonderful services. He's all back up during festivals and also in the Lakshminarayan dressing weekly service. So let us express our happiness for them, giving our blessings through loudly chanting Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. And may I ask Kirti Sundri, Kirti Sundri Mataji to please stand up. Kirti Sundri Mataji is the daughter of Chandrakant Jetwa and Anarpita Prem Mataji. She has done a B.Ed and M.Com. She is currently teaching in a junior college section at Swami Vivekanand classes. She is also serving as a teacher at the Bhakta Prahlad School, Meera Road. And she regularly participates in annual drama festivals, DT, jewelry making, and she is also part of the Kirtan group in Meera Road. And may I ask Kumar Sundar Prabhu to stand up. Kumar Sundar Prabhu is son of Ayodhyapati Prabhu and Annapurna Mataji. He has done his Masters in Environmental Architecture from Rachna Sansad. He is currently working in the Faculty of Architecture, Manipal University, as an assistant professor. He's been in Krishna consciousness practically from his birth, and he's been serving in the book distribution, Lakshminarayan Waking Up Services, and currently assisting in the base programs of Bhaktivedanta Youth Services, Manipal. So please let us all join together in expressing our love and happiness for them by loudly chanting Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.